to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Monday, June the 30th. We all thought it'd be a quiet Monday, last day of June. But then this morning, all hell broke loose. And we're going to talk about it on today's show. I am your host, Michael Leva, joined by our newest DolphinsTalk.com contributor, David Behrman. David, how you doing today?
It just mind-boggled. You know, you wake up on a Monday morning, you drive your daughter to drama camp, you come home, you're going to, nice quiet Monday in June, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. You said all hell breaks loose. The way my phone was buzzing, I thought Dan Marino was the new quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, or Stephen Ross died the way my phone was buzzing. So, and it was funny. I told you off air that I'd had a morning conversation with somebody that I know in Dolphins land who works in the NBA, and we were talking about the Jalen Ramsey situation. Well, maybe it'll happen closer to camp, or maybe he'll just figure it out and stay. They don't have any corners, so why would they trade him? I'm not sure I had pulled into my driveway yet when the trade happened. So just when you think it's not going to happen, it happens. And the one thing that I didn't figure out yet is they sort of announced it, and it's just the media. It seemed originally to be two different trades, and then they put it all together. It was one trade.
First, yes. At first, it was technically announced as two separate trades. Right. And then I think at the end, they just lumped it all together and did one big trade, because it kept coming out as a little bit of piecemeal here, piecemeal here. Ramsey trade to Pittsburgh. Then we're getting back Minkah. Then the part about Smith was also part of the deal. We also threw in Jonnu. And then it was part about the draft picks. Next thing you know, it was just all one trade. But it was at first technically two trades. We're going to talk about all that. First, let's get some of the business out of the way. Number one, this show is brought to you by Caneswear.com. Everyone go to the website, Caneswear.com, for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you're in South Florida itself, go to 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. They got stuff for your Stanley Cup champion, two-time Stanley Cup champion back-to-back Florida Panthers, the Miami Hurricanes, the Marlins, the Heat, and, of course, the Miami Dolphins. Jerseys, hats, hoodies, T-shirts, swim trunks, anything for the house or home. Caneswear.com has a Miami Dolphins logo on it, and they're the place to go. Also, Bet Online. The link's going to be on our YouTube channel and the comments pinned at the top. And there's also a link on our homepage. If you go to the website, DolphinsTalk.com, Bet Online. If you sign up and start a new account, you get up to $250 in free bets. So go to BetOnline.com there as well. All right. Now that
you know why they did it? You know why they did it?
What's
today.
that?
I'll tell you why they did it.
Oh,
Panthers won their second Stanley Cup. The Marlins have won 7 in a row. The Heat had what some people consider a good draft, and the Dolphins had to remind us how
still alive. Yes,
throw it out there.
Yeah, let me start with this. I'll go first on this. Just a few thoughts on this trade, because fans of the Dolphins, I think, are just dying for any news right now, and I think some fans are. It's one of those things. Some fans are way too happy. Some fans are probably way too mad. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Multiple things can be true with this trade. First of all, the trade. Ramsey, Jonnu, Smith in a 2027, so not next year, 2027 7th-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick in a 2027 5th-round pick. But multiple things can be true at the same time. Number one, the fact that Chris Grier got back a Pro Bowl, all-pro player like Minkah in this trade, where he's going to trade those two guys anyways, makes it a very good trade for the Dolphins, because no one expected someone of that caliber to come back. So tip of the cap to Chris Grier there. That's true. Here's what else is also true. Are the Miami Dolphins any better at all today on the field than they were yesterday? The answer is no. In fact, they're worse, because they don't have a tight end anymore. And the rest of the tight end room isn't any good. Let's just call it what it is. So multiple things can be true. Out now, it sounds like they're going to make a move for a tight end here.
Hopefully
soon. We'll talk about that later on in the show. So we don't have the full picture of the roster, but to me, this trade is kind of a wash. I mean, it's just lose Ramsey, add Minkah. They're both very good players at the end of the day. And I don't know if on the field, come week 1 against the Colts, if this team is any better than it would have been yesterday if we had Ramsey playing and not Minkah. So it's a fine trade. I'm not going nuts. I'm not going to, I saw people on social media. We're back. We're back to what? We didn't do anything. We just shuffled around. We shuffled around the chairs. We got one new name. We lost a couple names. I don't know if we're back to anything. I don't know if this moves the needle in any way on the win total for this team. Now, we'll see what they do at tight end. And again, I don't know if that's going to move the needle either. But it's a fine trade. I'm just not going crazy over it, Dave.
And I agree with you that there are two ways to look at it. Social media today, it's 6 of one, half a dozen other. Everybody thinks we got Minkah, the world, it's the greatest thing in the world. And other people think Chris Greer should be taken out and put on the next island if he hasn't been done already. I'll even go a step further. If you're of the mindset that you don't think the Dolphins are going to contend today, and you need them to clear salary cap for future years because they're not in very good shape with the salary cap entering this year. You saw a very quiet offseason. They gave a lot of money to Ramsey and Hill and Waddle and Tua, and they didn't have money to play with this year. If you're in that mindset that you need to get money for the future, then the Dolphins did themselves a good trade. They cleared up cap space. They got you some more money for next year. Minkah comes with no guaranteed money after next season, so you could cut him then. I'm not saying they're going to, but it's not dead cap hit that you would get if you had to get rid of Ramsey. So you got another team to take Ramsey's salary. So you did pay a little bit of it, yada, 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 but you got some room cleared on one side. A second proponent of it is if you're of the framework that you need to clean up the culture of this team, which we talked about last time you and I were on. They did that. 2 players that didn't want to be here are gone. And I know we'll talk about the culture and Raheem Mostert later, but 2 players who have said they don't want to be Miami Dolphins are no longer Miami Dolphins. So in that respect, you cleared room. You got rid of 2 people who didn't want to be there, and you got a Pro Bowl player back. Fine. On the flip side, there's always a flip side. It was the worst year of Minkah Fitzpatrick's career. The guy is a multi-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. It's in the past. He's not that player anymore. He had I'm reading this right from the Miami Herald article, 127.6 passer rating and coverage last year. Huge drop from previous years where he was never even over 93 passer rating. Allowed 4 touchdowns last season. Pro Football Focus rated him 111th among all cornerbacks. I didn't even know there were 111 cornerbacks. So, not coming off his best year. Maybe the only way to go is up, and you did get some draft capital about it. So you don't have a tight end. So you talk about one side being money and one side being culture. The other side being you got a guy who's no longer the first-round pick you had, and you also have no tight end. You have me and you competing for the starting tight end job. So to me, that's the 2 sides of it. If they go get a tight end, you cleared that up. If Minkah is back to his old ways, you've cleared that up. But at the end of the day, you did clear money, and you got rid of 2 guys who didn't want to be there. Now, we could talk for the next 3 hours about how it led to this. How do you let a Ramsey and a Jonnu Smith not want to play for the Dolphins? That's a problem, too, that shouldn't be ignored. You had 2 of your best players on your team not want to be there anymore. That's a problem that needs to be fixed immediately, or this team's not going anywhere. You were supposed to be the Miami, the good weather, the place people wanted to go. And I said this to my brother earlier in the day. 2 years ago, we're watching Hard Knocks. Everything's great. This team is fun. We're scoring 70 in a game, and the coach is hilarious, and it's sunny out, and it's fun. Hard Knocks ended. It went the other way and ended in the frozen tundra, and we haven't been good since. All of a sudden, we're the place that nobody wants to be in. So you got to fix that, and I understand that Jonnu wanted his money, but he also didn't want to take a hometown discount to be there. So he didn't get that much money. Now, I wouldn't have paid him $12 million a year, but it was only a 1-year deal, which is sort of surprising the Dolphins didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the reason why they didn't want to is because let's just be honest. They don't know who's going to be the offensive coordinator next year or the head coach next year. So why extend him past this season when you might have a head coach or someone who is, who doesn't need a Jonnu Smith on his offense. Let's just call what it is. There's a lot of uncertainty here in South Florida. So why extend him past this year when we don't know what they will look like past this year in a lot of ways. So I kind of get that. And I'm going to say this too. And I know right now fans of Dolphins have fallen back in love with Minkah Fitzpatrick. I see fans online. I didn't even throw in my jersey. See, I still got my old jersey. And people have forgotten Minkah wanted out of here once. They've forgiven him in like 3 seconds, which I just find hilarious. I'm going to say this though. Chris Greer better not give this guy a contract extension and more money. He better not. He bitched his way out of Miami once after only one season. If you don't think a year from now he might be doing that again, and we're going to be back at square one, you got to be one naive, you know what? Because he is due $15.5 million this season. Great, that's a manageable amount. 17.6 next season. That's the final year of his deal. That's great. Let him play it. Do not extend him. Do not give him more money, because if you didn't learn from this, what now just happened with Ramsey and what they would love to do with Hill, but they can't. You got to be you really got to have your head in the sand. So do not extend. I don't care if week 1 he has 5 interceptions. You do not extend this man, because he bitched his way out of Miami once. And if you don't think he'll do it again, if things don't go his way, or if he's not happy, because he's going to look around and say, I did it once, I'll do it again. It worked for Ramsey. It worked for Jonnu. I'll try. Just don't. Let him play it out.
But here's the thing. If they extend Minkah, it's the same extension that Ramsey got. Ramsey didn't earn an extension with the Dolphins. No. They gave it to him anyway. So
they gave it to him because they were afraid of him, essentially.
Right. And it goes back to what is wrong down there. Minkah left, didn't like the system that Brian Flores was playing. Then they got a new DC in there, a couple of new DCs, and all of a sudden they ran Vic Fangio out of town because they didn't like his way, his old school mentality. Meanwhile, all those players are gone too. So we picked the players over the coach last year, and now we're getting rid of the players. So at the end of the day, you don't have Fangio, you don't have Ramsey, you have a lot of wasted money, and you don't have the Super Bowl title that Fangio got. So something has to change, or it's just, I called it quicksand this morning. It's just quicksand. It's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Maybe you'll have an 11-win year. Maybe you'll have a 9-win year, an 8-win year, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And it starts at the top. I'm sorry. And right now the top is not getting it done. And regardless of this trade, at least the Dolphins did something. They got rid of players that didn't want to be there, and they got some talent and picks back. I give them credit for that. But to your point earlier, is the team right now better than they were 5 hours ago? And the answer is no. You can't say that. You can't say they are. They don't have a tight end, and they lost a all-pro corner to get an all-pro safety who's past his prime currently. And they have nobody at corner. Like, they had safety.
Yeah, they have nobody at corner.
They have nobody at corner. Like, I had somebody this morning on Twitter X tell me, I saw Storm Duck years ago. I knew I was right on him. He's above average. You'll be fine. Well,
based on what?
If you're looking for above average, great. Let's all be above average and be 9-8 every year. That's what above average is. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Storm Duck. I like Storm Duck, but
yeah. That's and here's the deal. And I know fans are like waiting on, we're going to sign Asante Samuel Jr., who's coming off neck surgery in April, mind you, and who's, you have to factor that in. Or then we're going to sign the guy from the Bills, Rasul Douglas, who I had on a reporter from the Bills on this show a month ago. He said, I watched him every game last year. He's got nothing left. He's not anywhere close to the same guy. So I know if and when we sign him, fans of Dolphins are going to go, yippee. And it's like, guys, he got nothing. There's a reason he's still unsigned heading into July. So it's like, fans are so, it was like when fans get so happy. We signed Eli Apple or this one. And then once they actually see him play, they all turn on him in a split second. It's going to be the same way with probably either one of those guys. If we sign one, there's nothing left in the tank. And this secondary still, we just swapped out Ramsey for Minkah, which is fine if you like Minkah more than Ramsey. I kind of get that on some level. He's a little bit younger, a little bit cheaper. I kind of get it. I'm not going to fight with you about that per se. But overall, the secondary is still a mess. And this doesn't change that. So we'll see what the next move is, though. They have to sign a veteran corner. Now, as I said, they might not be any good, but they need to sign one because what they have in-house right now Cam Smith ain't any good. Okay. I've seen enough of Cam Smith. And if you're hoping on the guys like Ethan Bonner, Storm Ducks of the world to actually, start and win games, that's going to be tough. Not that the guy's out there that are, but they have to do something. Maybe he has another trade up his sleeve, and he actually can get one cornerback who's actually pretty good. I'd actually be looking to trade for a corner more than a tight end, honestly, if it were me. But it's not me.
I agree. Me. I agree with you. I mean, Mike McDaniel didn't know the tight end position existed until last year. So yeah, it was a 1-year thing. And if anything, sure, Jonnu Smith was great in the offense, but they also ignored the two $65 million receivers out there. So you got to get back to getting Hill and Waddle the ball. And I'm not saying I would have loved to have kept Jonnu Smith, but he was basically a last gasp option for an offense that couldn't move the ball, especially when Tua was out. And tight end has not been the team's problem. No, having Farrell Brown and Julian Hill and Tanner Connor in your tight end room is not great. And I would have loved to have kept Jonnu Smith, but you're right. I'll go get a corner because look at the division. You got quarterbacks and wide receivers all over the AFC East. Like Josh Allen isn't going away anytime soon. Like Drake May's only in year 2, but that offense is getting better, and the Jets can't be any worse than they were with Aaron Rodgers. So you need corners, you need safeties. Like how many more times are you going to let the Bills pass all over you? You need them, and you need to go get them.
Yeah. So that's that when it comes to the trade today, and we'll see. And as we said, we'll see what happens next. Couple other things, but first, quick shout out to everyone watching and listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins Fan Facebook page, run by the great Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are a part of that page. All right. After this trade was made, former Dolphin running back Raheem Mostert, who's one of the nicest, quietest guys that you'll ever meet. Just everyone loves him. Everyone respects him. He's just one of those guys who does everything the right way, and he's not with the Raiders. After this trade was announced, he put out a tweet that kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying no one expected him to be the one to say it. And the tweet or X, whatever it is these days, said, hot take, be a Pro Bowler on the Miami Dolphins, get treated like shit, happy for my guys. So, again, and I know a lot of fans, of course, turn on Mostert, you're ungrateful, I can't believe you said that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're allowed to have that feeling. Let's take that feeling and put it to the side, though. If that's the perception of this organization by the players around the league, that's also a reality that this organization has to accept and try to change. When we talk about changing the culture, this, that, and the other, is if one of the quietest, nicest, most well-respected guys around the league says you get treated like shit if you're on the Dolphins, that should raise some eyebrows, David. I don't know.
It should raise some eyebrows because that was a leader of the Miami Dolphins. Like that was one of the captains of the, not worn the C on his jersey, but he was one of the veteran players that led that offense. Like you said, quiet as can be. You saw it in the Hard Knocks episode. It's a little surprising to hear it come from him, but again, he's not wrong. He's not. He's not wrong. All pro, see ya. And you don't know what's really going on there culture-wise, but it's not good. And this is a team that we thought had good culture 2 years ago as we scored 70 points and the team was fun and the team seemed to be enjoying themselves. But if Mostert's out there saying those things, you got to scratch your head and you got to wonder. You have McDaniel and Greer there, and they're the leaders of this franchise. And we've talked about their job security and whether they should get another year, yada, yada, yada. You got the most veteran players on your team saying these things. Something's wrong. Something is culturally wrong behind the scenes. And it adds up. Ramsey wants to leave. Other players last year complained and got Fangio sent out of town. Mostert didn't want to come back. You got other defensive guys that didn't re-sign. People complaining about the culture left and right. And now you have Mostert saying what he said. It raises eyebrows for sure.
Yeah. And, he's specifically talking about Ross, Greer, McDaniel. Make no mistake about it. He's not talking about any of the players on the team. But players talk, and all these guys, they all talk. I don't care if they're on the same team or not. And if that's the perception, that's not a good one. It's just not a good one because you look at this roster, what it was in 2023, and I know every year there are turnover on rosters. There's a lot of turnover, but the 2023 roster compared to where we are in June 2025, what this how many guys are gone? You expect a few to go 100%. Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Andrew Van Ginkel, Jerome Baker, Javon Holland, Xavier. I mean, they're all gone. And these are these are your quote unquote foundational pieces, your leaders. They're all gone. The only ones staying are Waddle, Hill, and Tua for the most part. Armstead, he retired. Okay, we understand that. Mm-hmm. But some of those guys could have stayed. They didn't want to. They didn't want to. It's not all about the money with all those guys. Well, some of them, yes. Like with Hunt, obviously, and with Wilkins. Yeah, it's about the money. Not all of them, though. They just don't want to be here. Which is
a bad turn of events because Miami used to be, not even under this regime, starting with Shula and on the way down with Jimmy and Wai and everybody else, like they were the place that people got the big contracts. They wanted to go and enjoy the sunshine. And I know it's more of an NHL thing with the tax-free money and all that stuff, but Miami is a destination place. And, you know, you'd rather go play somewhere else. That's what these guys are going. So,
yeah. Last thing here, there's a lot of reports. Tom Pelissero had it from the NFL Network that the Miami Dolphins are now shopping for a tight end because they have to have a tight end. I know a lot of fans have sort of twisted this now, like we didn't really need Jonnu. Well, if we didn't really need him, then why'd we sign him last year? If we need a tight end here who can actually make a play in the passing game. So the two names that are out there on the trading block are Michael Mayer of the Raiders, who the Raiders took 2 drafts ago, but then when they had the opportunity to get Brock Bowers, they really didn't need him. So he's out there on the trade block. And also Kyle Pitts, who the year we took Waddle was like, I think he was picked 3rd overall or something. No, not 3rd. That was Chase. 4th or 5th overall. I don't know. He was picked really high. Those two. I'm not going to, let's not talk about Pitts too much because I don't know if that's realistic. Michael Mayer is, though, because like I said, they got Brock Bowers and they really don't need him. 2023, and he was a 2nd round pick, I believe. 2023, he played in 14 games, started 12, 27 receptions. 19 of those 27 receptions were for first downs. He had 2 touchdowns. Last year, he only played in 11 games. He started 8 of them, had 21 receptions, no touchdowns, only 156 yards last year. His production dropped, less games, and obviously with Brock Bowers there. This is a guy, though, who when he came out of Notre Dame, I believe, yes, went to Notre Dame. Very well thought of, very good player. And I think it's just one of those things where he's caught in a situation where another tight end the following year was just so good. They couldn't pass up the Raiders. If Miami can get him, I'm not trading a ton for him.
No.
You want a 5th, 6th, or 7th? Go for it. I'm not trading a 4th. I damn sure ain't trading a 3rd. I'd be fine with it. I don't think, once again, does this move the needle? Does this, oh my God, that's going to take us from a 7-win team to a 9-win team? No, it doesn't do that. But it does give you a capable starting tight end you can line up week 1 and not be like embarrassed about. So if Michael Mayer is available, if Miami and Chris Greer can get him at a reasonable price, I think it's fine. But this guy's not Brock Bowers. He's not one of these he's not like an all-pro tight end. He's just not. He's a good, solid, serviceable NFL player. And that's what they need right now at tight end because Pharaoh Brown is a run blocker only. Julian Hill's a walking penalty. And after that, it's a bunch of young guys, which nobody has any clue about.
Either one of those guys, Mayer or Kyle Pitts, would be an upgrade of what they currently have. I'm not giving up much. You mentioned 5, 6, 7. That's about as far as I would go.
Yep.
You might steal him from the Raiders because the Raiders don't need him anymore. But at the same time, like Pitts was the number 4 overall pick, and it's supposed to be one of the best tight ends ever come out of college. I saw him every day at Florida. I wouldn't give up a lot. He hasn't done much. It doesn't matter who the offense coordinator or head coach.
His contract's almost up too. So if you trade him, you're going to have to pay Pitts. At least with the other guy, you have him for this year and next year.
Pitts would have been someone they could have gotten the year they traded down, then traded back up to get Waddle. It could have been Pitts. You don't spend a lot of money there. You don't spend a lot of draft picks there. If they're available, you take them. I just don't. You want to know moving the needle. It moves the needle in the social space. None of these players move the needle. Even Pittsburgh getting Ramsey and Jonnu Smith, their Super Bowl odds went from 35-1 to 35-1. So these players don't move the needle. They do for us. They do for social. They do for talk, Dolphins talk. But even Aaron Rodgers didn't move the needle much when they signed with Pittsburgh. A little bit of a tad, but it takes a significant player to move the odds.
Yeah, and we have a question here in our chat. I'll answer. Anything on Isaiah Likely? Here's the thing with the Ravens and their tight ends. Isaiah Likely, final year of his deal. Mark Andrews, final year of his deal. Isaiah Likely's the future. They are not trading Likely. You have a better chance of getting Mark Andrews out of the Ravens than you do Likely, but why should the Ravens trade him? They're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. They're not going to trade him. They will just let him walk after this year, and they'll pay Likely. There's no chance they're going to trade Isaiah Likely because he is the future in Baltimore, not Andrews because the age and stuff like that. But, yeah, so we'll see what they do at tight end. And this trade, it's like I said, it's a fine trade. I'm not going crazy over it because I don't think this really improves the team at all on the field any. They're not any worse, but they're also not really any better either. And we need Minkah to not be the Minkah 2024, to be the Minkah of 2023 and previously. And from what I read last year in Pittsburgh, they had him play more in the box, and I guess his success was more as a free range, roaming, free safety. We'll see how Weaver uses him. Hopefully they use him like that and not how Pittsburgh used him last year. Otherwise, the trade really makes no sense then. But, yeah, so we'll see. Exciting Monday. Training camp's about less than a month away now, and I'm sure there'll be more Dolphins news between now and when that starts. Dave, thanks so much for joining me here. Everyone follow David Berman on Twitter, X at David Berman. Check out his written work and his podcast shows exclusively at the Dolphins Talk YouTube channel and also at the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Follow me on all social media at Dolphins Talk and check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. Everyone, have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll talk to you again after a while.